What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. Welcome back to the 2013 NHL playoff predictions. We're at the point now where we're trying to predict who is going to make it into the playoffs to win the hardest to win trophy in sports, the NHL Stanley Cup. Ladies and gentlemen, in my hand I have the predictions, the standings, who I think is going to make the playoffs in both the Eastern and Western conferences, but I'm going to give you the whole shooting gallery. I'm going to give you exactly where I predict every team is going to finish, not just the playoff teams, but I'm going to tell you who's going to finish in the bottom of those standings too. So let's do this. Last video we started in the Eastern Conference. This one I'd actually like to start in the West, where I think there's going to be a decent amount of turnover and sort of jockeying here for position versus what the standings currently sit at as of today. Right now, your standings in the Western Conference sit as such. In first place, we got the Chicago BlackHawks with 55 points. Second place, we have Anaheim with 51 points. Third place, we have Minnesota by way of currently leading the division with 44 points. Fourth place, Vancouver with an identical 44 points. Fifth place, Los Angeles with 43 points. Sixth place is San Jose with 40 points. Seventh place, Detroit with 39. Eighth place, Columbus with 37. Currently out of the playoff mix, we have St. Louis with 36 points. Dallas, Edmonton, and Nashville with 35 points, Phoenix with 34, Calgary with 30, and Colorado in last place in the Western Conference with 28 points. As we established in the last video, I don't think there's going to be any change at the top of the Western Conference. I honestly think Chicago's got it in them to win 10 of their remaining 14 games, and I honestly think they're going to run away with first place in the Western Conference. I think it's a foregone conclusion. Anaheim, I believe they're going to be able to win 9 of their final 13 games, finish second place in the Western Conference. I think they will also top 70 points like Chicago. Chicago, I think, is going to top 75 points. But Anaheim, I figure, will top 70 points, easily take second place in the Western Conference, and win their division. Minnesota, I think, can probably win. They got 14 games left. I think Minnesota can probably win 8 of those. They're going to be better than 50. Get a couple of extra points here and there. I think they're going to win that division. They're going to top 60 points for sure. Win that division over Vancouver. Probably win it in the last day. And they're going to take that third place spot in the Western Conference. So now let's talk about the other teams that I think are going to make it. You got the Vancouver Canucks, who again, I think they'll, again, probably top 60 points. It's going to be a dogfight with Minnesota for the rest of the way. I think they finished just a point or two short. Definitely top 60 points, and I think 60 points is going to be enough for the Vancouver Canucks to take fourth place in the Western Conference and hold home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs. Next, you got a bit of a logjam there. As I said, we've got Los Angeles, San Jose, Detroit, and Columbus in there right now who sit with playoff spots. As it sits right now, I think Los Angeles has the remaining schedule, and they've been playing well enough lately that they can probably hold on by the skin of their teeth there to take 5th place. I don't think they crack 60 points. I think they come close. Could be like 59, 58 area, something like that. And it may even take a tiebreaker. And honestly, I think it could very well take a tiebreaker with not the team right behind them, San Jose, but the team behind them in Detroit. I think it'll be a tiebreaker in there. But I've got Los Angeles sticking around to take 5th place in the Western Conference to set up a first-round matchup once again with the Vancouver Canucks. 6th place, I honestly expect Detroit to jump up there and overtake San Jose based on remaining schedule. I do understand that San Jose currently has a game in hand, and they're a point ahead. But I honestly think Detroit's got it in them to win 9, probably 8 or 9 of their final 13 games, and I just think that's going to be enough momentum in terms of points remaining. I think they crack 20 points for the rest of their games, and I think they get that 6th place spot over San Jose. That would set up a first-round playoff matchup of the Minnesota Wild versus the Detroit Red Wings, and I think that would be a fantastic first-round series. That's going to be a dogfight there with San Jose, so obviously San Jose, I think, will certainly hold on there to take 7th place. Again, it may just be in terms of a point or two difference. I think San Jose easily cracks 55 points for the rest of the season. Should do a little bit better than 500 coming home. I think they can win 7 of their remaining games. They got 14 left, so they can easily win half of them. And I think San Jose finishes off 7th place in the West to set up a first-round matchup of the San Jose Sharks versus the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. In terms of who gets 8th spot, right now, sitting in 8th place is the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they're one of the best stories in the NHL this year. But you take a look at the teams who are not in the playoffs right now. You have a very good team in St. Louis that's currently on the outside looking in. You have an underachieving team in Nashville that's on the outside looking in. And even Edmonton, who really has underperformed based on fan expectations this year, but is a very good team that is really starting to light the lamp now and maybe starting to find their groove, who are on the outside looking in. Columbus has a whole lot of sharks on their butts, and I honestly think they're going to crumble under the pressure. I don't think they're a team that has the testicular fortitude, if you want to put it that way, to really gut one out and make the playoffs this year. Going to be a good season for Columbus, but ultimately I think they're going to come up a little bit short. I don't think they crack 500 for their remaining games, so I expect Columbus to fall out of things, maybe finish, they could finish as low as, 13th if they really sort of fall apart here, but I honestly think they're certainly not going to hold on to take that 8th place spot. As far as teams that I think are sort of lower on the pecking order that could possibly make a run, honestly, Colorado. Colorado is a deceptively good home team. So their remaining home games, and they have quite a few of them, in my eyes are all winnable. I mean, they've got home games against Minnesota. I think they can beat Minnesota. St. Louis, I think they can beat St. Louis. Vancouver, I think they can beat Vancouver since they're playing them at home. Colorado can beat any team in this league. I firmly believe that, playing at home. They're the ones that broke Chicago's streak, and they broke it because they played it at home. And that's actually, I predicted that they were going to break Chicago's streak, but that's beside the point. Colorado, a very damn good home team. So the fact that most of their remaining games are at home means they could make a run. I don't think it's going to work, obviously. I think they're going to finish probably somewhere in the area of 11th, 12th, maybe even down as low as 13th. So I don't think they make it, but I think it'll be entertaining to watch them for the rest of the season because really they're a team that's got nothing to lose. And again, like I said, Nashville. Nashville to me is a very good team that has just underperformed this year. Nashville, I think, has the possibility to make a run. I think they're certainly going to be better than 500 for the rest of the season. And where the Western Conference is so crammed, so tight, any team here really could make a run because you're talking about the difference. Right now, the difference between 8th place and 13th place is 3 points. As far as the team that I actually think is going to get in there and get 8th place, to me it's the St. Louis Blues. I think St. Louis is way too good a team not to make the playoffs, and I would have expected them to have better than 17 wins in 33 games, but at the same time, they've got games in hand on every single team in front of them. At least one, they've got 3 games in hand on Columbus, so I just think St. Louis has too many games and they're too good a team. I think St. Louis can win probably 9 of the 15 games that they have left this year. I think they absolutely crack 55 points and get in there for the number 8 spot. Nashville, I think they make things interesting, but ultimately I think they just barely crack 50 points to finish 9th. Edmonton, I think, can play right around 500 hockey for the rest of the season. I actually think Edmonton there takes 10th place. Dallas, I had high hopes for Dallas. I don't think they crack 500 coming home, but I think it will be enough to hold on for 11th place. Colorado, I think they can pop up and take 12th. I think they finish with somewhere around 46, 47 points. and finished 12th. Columbus, as I said, I think Columbus really falls off here. I think they finish 13th, right around 46 points, something like that. Again, don't think they crack 500 coming home. And that leaves Phoenix and Calgary down at the bottom there. Phoenix, well, I think Phoenix has an outside shot to play 500 hockey the rest of the season. I certainly don't see Calgary doing it. So I think they finish 14th and 15th respectively. Calgary ending up on the short end of the stick. So one more time in the Western Conference, I think it goes down like this. Number 1, Chicago. Number 2, Anaheim. Number 3, Minnesota. Number 4, Vancouver. Number 5, Los Angeles. Number 6, Detroit. Number 7, San Jose. And number 8, St. Louis will come from 9th place to snag the 8th position. That would set up the following playoff matches. Number 1, Chicago versus number 8, St. Louis. I think that's a very good series. Number 2, Anaheim versus number 7, San Jose. That's an all-Pacific Division battle. I think that'll be great. Number 3, Minnesota versus number 6, Detroit. Another series that I think is fantastic. And number 4, Vancouver versus number 5, Los Angeles. The battle of 1v8 from last season. Vancouver's chance for redemption. I think it's too good a story. I think that's how it goes in the Western Conference. There's a reason I started with the Western Conference, because now when we go and we take a look at the Eastern Conference, I honestly don't think there's going to be a whole heck of a lot of movement based on what the standings look like right now. As a matter of fact, I think you could even confidently lock in the standings as they sit right now. We look at Pittsburgh in first place. They're 7 points up on Montreal. I don't think Pittsburgh could possibly play bad enough down the stretch, even without Crosby. I don't think they can play bad enough down the stretch that Montreal is going to catch them. I think Pittsburgh can win probably 8 of their remaining 12 games. We'll give them 2/3 of them, and Pittsburgh walks away with the Eastern Conference regular season championship anyway. I think they crack 75 points. Montreal, I think they crack 70 points as well. I honestly think they've got 14 games left. I think they have 10 winnable games in there based on the way that they've been playing. There's some teams in there, like they have a game at Toronto, not the one to end the season, but they have a game at Toronto in the middle of this stretch that I think they'll probably lose. And a couple other games in there that I think they'll come close, but I think they'll ultimately lose out. But honestly, I think Montreal can win 10 of their remaining 14 games. It'll be enough for them to win the division, certainly crack 70 points. Montreal finishes second in the Eastern Conference heading into the playoffs. And again, third, Winnipeg Jets. I think Winnipeg can easily win 7 of their remaining 12 games, good enough to win that division. Winnipeg takes third place in the Eastern Conference by way of winning their division. Sitting in fourth place right now is Boston with 48 points, 4 points up on both Ottawa and Toronto, and honestly, Boston's a good enough team that they can hold on to that. I think they win at least 7 of their remaining 14 games. They get some points in some other ones because Boston's very good at snagging some points here in close games. It's going to be enough for me anyways to say that Boston will hold on, get some home ice advantage, take fourth place in the Eastern Conference. Now taking a look at Ottawa and Toronto, tied with 44 points right now. Ottawa has a game in hand there on Toronto, and I think based on remaining schedule, well, I think Ottawa can win upwards of 9 of their remaining 13 games. I think Toronto, more accurately, can probably win 6 of their remaining 12 based on what the schedule actually is. Both teams get some extra points in there somewhere. And honestly, I think Ottawa is good enough to maybe crack 20 points for the rest of their games. Certainly going to be good enough to hold on to 5th place in the Eastern Conference, while I think Toronto falls off their pace a little bit. But I still think they hold off the teams behind them. So I think Toronto ends up nestling into 6th place in the Eastern Conference, making the playoffs for the first time since, I believe, the first Trudeau was the Prime Minister, but I'm not sure. That would set up a Boston versus Ottawa 4 versus 5 playoff matchup, which would be unbelievable to see. That would also set up a 3v6 of the Winnipeg Jets versus the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I think for Canadian hockey fans, that would be a fantastic series to see. You would have Leafs Nation versus the returning Jets, the triumphant returning Jets coming back to the playoffs. So Winnipeg v. Toronto and Boston v. Ottawa, I think would be two fantastic playoff series. That's the way I'm going. Boston 4th, Ottawa 5th, Toronto 6th. Now we take a look at the bottom part of the Eastern Conference standings, and the way I'm actually going to do this is I want to tell you why none of the teams that are currently outside of the playoffs are going to do enough to actually get in. First of all, Florida, Tampa Bay, Buffalo. Those three teams, throw them totally out the window. Those are three teams that are currently hemorrhaging points, hemorrhaging fan bases, hemorrhaging money, hemorrhaging everything you can possibly think of. I don't think any one of those teams wins more than 4 games for the rest of the season. Combined, I would be surprised if they won 8. They finished 13, 14, 15, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Florida. So they're at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, not even worth talking about. If there's a team that I think can kind of make a run and finish a couple spots higher than they currently are right now, to me it's the Philadelphia Flyers. Philadelphia, kind of the same as the Colorado Avalanche, a deceptively good home team, and there are some games there, like playing at home to Montreal. I think they could even beat Montreal playing the game in Philadelphia. Ottawa, I think they can beat Ottawa since the game is in Philadelphia. They have a home game there against the Devils that I think they can probably win. Home game against Boston that I think they can probably win just because they're a very good team when they're playing in Philadelphia. I honestly think Philadelphia has enough right now through their remaining games. They can probably win 7 of their 13 remaining games, actually jump up as much as 10th place in the Eastern Conference, which is really good because now, of course, they sit in 12th. So I honestly think they can jump up a couple of spots there. They're not making the playoffs, but I think they jump up to at least a semi-respectable 10th place. Washington, there's actually been a lot of buzz about Washington that like, oh, Washington's going to make a run and they're going to beat Winnipeg and win the division and everything like that. I don't think they come within 2 games of Winnipeg, to be perfectly honest. Washington has lost a couple of what I felt were winnable games in the last week or so that I think has really killed all of their momentum. I think they can probably win more than half of their remaining games. We're talking maybe 7 of their 13 remaining games I think are winnable for them, and maybe they might pick up a point or 2 here and there. I think if they crack 50 points, it's barely, and it's not going to be enough at all to catch either Winnipeg or the team that ends up in 8th place. Washington, I have finishing 11th place in the Eastern Conference, just not going to be good enough, and it might be time to blow that team up. Then we take a look at the 2 other teams that are currently on the outside looking in, the New York Islanders and the Carolina Hurricanes. New York Islanders are a bit of a rarity in the NHL in that they're a very good team on the road, and the majority of their remaining games are on the road. The Islanders, I honestly think, can surprise a lot of people here and win as many as 9 of their remaining 13 games, a lot of them being on the road. Let's take a look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Their last 5 games on the season are all on the road, and they're a very good road team. Let's see, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 of their final 13 games are on the road, and I honestly think they can win the majority of those. I think they go 9-2-2 here down the stretch. That's 20 points for their remaining games. I just think they were a little too far behind, and I don't think they'll be able to keep pace with the 2 teams that I think are actually going to make 7th and 8th place. So the Islanders, I think, come very, very close, maybe even within a point or 2 of 8th place. Don't quite make it. I got the Islanders in 9th. In terms of the Carolina Hurricanes, I don't think they're a 500 hockey team given the remaining schedule that they have left. I mean, they got games with Pittsburgh and Philly and Ottawa and Boston and Pittsburgh and Boston again and Montreal. Carolina's got a very difficult schedule for the rest of the season. If they win 5 of those games outright, I'll be surprised. Carolina Hurricanes, I think, are going to drop off, finish 12th place in the Eastern Conference. That leaves the 2 teams that currently sit in 7th and 8th, the New Jersey Devils and the New York Rangers, and I think that's where they're going to finish. They're going to have to work for it because, like I said, you got the New York Islanders there that I think are going to have a real good finish to the season, and they're going to come on strong. The Devils have 13 games left. The Rangers have 14 games left. The Devils, I think, can win 8 of those 13 games, pick up a point here and there in some of their losses. The Rangers, I think, win 9 of those remaining 14 games. Same sort of deal, pick up a point here and there. I think the Rangers probably top 20 points for their remaining games. Devils, not quite so much, maybe 17, 18, something like that. But I think it's enough to crack 55 points and by a point or two, just by the skins of their teeth, take 7th place and 8th place respectively heading into the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. So in the Eastern Conference, here's the way I see it. Number 1, Pittsburgh, 75 points. Number 2, Montreal, 72 points. Number 3, Winnipeg, 55 points by way of winning their division. Number 4, Boston, 67 points. Number 5, Ottawa, 64 points. Number 6, Toronto, 58 points. Number 7, New Jersey, 57 points. Number 8, New York Rangers, 56 points. Number 9, New York Islanders, 55 points. Number 10, Philadelphia Flyers, 50 points. Number 11, Washington, 50 points. Philly would take that by way of a tiebreaker. Number 12, Carolina, 47 points. Number 13, Buffalo, 41 points. Number 14, Tampa Bay, 36 points. And number 15, Florida, 36 points. Tampa Bay would have the lead there by way of tiebreaker, but honestly, what would that matter? In the Eastern Conference, these are the first round playoff matches as I see them. Number 1, Pittsburgh taking on number 8, New York Rangers. Number 2, Montreal taking on number 7, New Jersey. I think that is a spectacular first round playoff series. Number 3, Winnipeg versus number 6, Toronto. We already talked about that. I think that would be great for Canadian hockey. And number 4, Boston Bruins versus number 5, Ottawa Senators, an all Northeast Division matchup. That's the way I see the rest of the season going. I know it's a lot of information to take in. You might want to go back and watch the video 2 or 3 times. I want to know your predictions. I want to know who you think is on the outside looking in that has the best shot at making a run and getting into the playoffs. Conversely, I want you to tell me the one playoff team that you think is most likely to drop off the radar, playoff team as it sits right now, is most likely to drop off the radar and not make the final 8. So I want to hear all that stuff from you guys. I want to hear your predictions. I want to hear who you think's going to go all the way. Who do you think's going to win the cup this year? I want to hear all that from you guys down in the comment section below. Thank you for taking the time to watch. That's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. I can only hope these videos do as well as they did last year. NHL playoffs are getting closer and closer and closer. No better time of year to be a hockey fan.